I mentioned at the very outset that one of every two husbands physically abuses his wife. Now, many thought the problem was only with the men who did the beating. There's more to it than that. You see, any respectable woman will make it very clear to her man, you put a hand on me, and either I'm leaving or you better not go to sleep. There are two kind of women in America, and they go by the names of Donna and Kathy. You see, I sincerely believe this. I believe that men know who to be and who not to. I believe that. And I believe that men are not going to respect women until women, first of all, respect themselves. And there are two kind of women in America, Donna and Kathy. Now, Donna feels very good about herself. She would like to have a man, but she don't have to have one. I mean, the sun will still shine. God will still be first in her life. Donna wants one, she ain't got to have one. But then you get Kathy, taking me your way, comes through the door with another woman, with a bottle, with a ball of fist. All Kathy wants is a man, and a half a man will do. I want all the Kathys to raise their hands.
Hey guys, welcome back to Themis and Thought. Grab your coffee, water, tea, whatever you're drinking, go and get that. We talked about beauty in the first installment of this 3-part series that is a weird mashup that I just couldn't put together because each video was an hour. Hopefully this is way under an hour. So we talked about beauty first. Last week we talked about self-actualization and how Black women in particular are self-actualizing and how beautiful that is and how other groups watch and can learn and self-actualize in that way. Also a beautiful thing. Today, through a 1980s video and also a 1960s video, we're going to talk about the sort of constant notion around dating down, women taking responsibility for boys, being single mothers, and even abuse. Like, I say it with a question mark and uptone at the end because the lecturer is a doctor, and we're going to be watching part of a lecture from the 1980s, and it's about how to help Black boys. I will give the title and everything in a moment, but I just want to do a welcome first, and then we'll get into it. So welcome everyone, grab your coffee, water, tea again, and let's get into it. All right, so again, let's go back to the 1980s, and here we had Dr. Kunjufu. I think that is his name. I'm not sure if it's real name, a pseudonym. I don't know, right? I did go to look up the books that he was referencing that he wrote, and he was on a mission to sort of transform the ways in which we engage with Black boys and create a better world for Black boys. Something that I found interesting in his lectures, not just the one that I was watching, but all of them, it seemed that there was a preoccupation with boys, and there is an ignoring of the girls because girls were able to adapt well in school and society, even though Black girls weren't doing well. And I think this is because the notion around community and community building has consistently been, if you help the man, a rising tide lifts all boats. And that kind of approach ignores everyone else and focus on the men and the boys. And I don't think this is a bad endeavor to help boys. I really abhor the fact that women were just completely ignored in the attempt to help the Black community until recently. That is an opinion based on everything that I've watched from this Dr. Kunjufu. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. All right, so we're going to start with a video, and this video is titled Encountering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. This was in 1987. Real Black One is the channel from which I got the clips for this particular video from 1987. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the video at a very specific point. And this point is to kind of explain what his thesis is. And it, again, is about saving Black boys, how you save Black boys. But we're going to skip through it a lot, right? So we're going to start at his thesis about the conspiracy against black boys, what is causing it, and black women and mothers' role in it, and black men role in it. And we're going to dissect it from those angles. He also touches on abuse in his book and in the lecture rather. And I think he has a very, very strange take on who's responsible for abuse. So trigger warning for the end or towards the end of this video. So we're going to watch it together, and yeah, let's do it.
Black boys in the primary grades, they have many mother figures, and they have very few men figures, and particularly black male figures. And I think it makes a big difference come grade 4.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's the major reason. And let me now give my first position. I sincerely believe that only men can make boys men. Now don't misquote me. I didn't say that a single female parent or female teacher cannot rear or educate her child. But she need not do that by herself. When she calls upon her father, her brother, an uncle, a male neighbor, a nephew, a coworker, there needs to be some men in our children's lives. I want to explain to me how a boy is going to grow up to be a man if he's never seen any. In order to be anything, you must see it first. Remember in the earlier workshop, and I'll go through this very quickly, from the University of Michigan, we wanted to find out what the major influence on children. We said 1950 it was home, school, church, peer group, and television. And then we gave you 1980. Home was still number 1, peer group in the number 2 position, television 3, school dropped down to number 4, church last on the list. Let's go back to my statement. My statement said that only men can make boys men. Now let's see where black boys are going to find men. Let's first of all look at his home. 62% of all black children live in a single-run household. It's a very good chance he would not find a man here. I'm going to hold off on the streets and drop down to television. Can you name me 5 positive adult black men on television outside the news? And you can't name Cosby because the show just started. Name me 5.
Outside the news?
No.
Outside the news.
Jefferson.
And you better not say George Jefferson. So they find very few black male role models on television. Now let's drop down to the schools. 83% of all elementary school teachers are women. 95% of all teacher aides are women. And when do men teach? After the critical 4th grade, or they're in the upper grade, or they're the PE teacher, the janitor, or the principal. Very few before 4th grade where black boys need them the most. And lastly, the church. Most young people, men don't go to church. And the reason is we lie to them. First of all, we made Jesus Christ white. The man surely was not white. And we have a book called What Color Was Jesus to explain that. He had hair the texture of wool and feet the color of bronze. But secondly, the Lord's Prayer says on earth as it is in heaven. Young people and men want some action. They want some programs. If there are no programs in your church, they will see you later in heaven. As a result of not finding a man at home, few on television, few in school, and not wishing to attend church, the last place is the streets. And that's the problem. The streets do a very poor job making men. They do a better job making pimps, pushers, and a few basketball players. Their hero, Michael Jordan, has said there were 1 million brothers that won his job last year in the NBA. Of this million, only 400,000 will even make it to play high school ball. Of this 400,000, only 4,000 will make it to play college ball. Of this 4,000, only 35 will go to the coveted NBA. Of this 35, only 7 start. And the average life in the NBA is 4 years. You got 1 million brothers looking for 7 full-time jobs that last 4 years. This conspiracy is complex. It goes beyond the NBA. Even schools are in on it. What will be the first thing you see when you walk into a Cincinnati high school? A large trophy case. And I believe even schools give more glory to their ball players than the scholars. That's said in the earlier workshop. Where are the pep rallies for the honor roll? In other words, even school, I can understand the NBA, but even schools give more glory to their ball players than their scholars. This conspiracy goes beyond the NBA, though. It goes beyond schools. Jesse Jackson is giving you the clue one more time. Is it not possible for a black man to be president? For a white woman to be president? For a black woman to be president? Is the club only reserved for European men? You didn't know that a white boy with a high school diploma makes more money than a white woman, or black man with a college degree? The motive for the conspiracy is clear. For the question of why is there a conspiracy, the answer is white male supremacy. In other words, white men are not afraid of women, black or white, because women have no power anywhere in this world. The threat to European men will come not from women, it will come from other men. And the best way to destroy black men is to destroy them as a boy. The motive is white male supremacy. But before you get comfortable blaming somebody else, let me make sure we're clear. On a conspiracy, there would always be 2. You see, you have the active conspirators, and you have...
So he's going to get into active versus passive conspirators, and this is where the mom and dad comes in. All right. If you are listening, calm down. If you're listening, and I was trying to take notes as he was talking, it is weird to me that, let's go from the back to front, that people wanting to go to the NBA is a conspiracy, that over 1 million people aspire at the time to get into the NBA where there are only 35, he says, spots. I think a lot of us can do math. And if that is what we're pushing, that is a problem. But who is pushing it? I said you. He rightfully pointed out the streets are raising our children because there are no dads in the home. Who took the dads out of the home? We'll get into what he thinks you should do about it as a woman. He's going to give you, and let me break it all down. You should date down and you should take care of the man. That is what I got from what he's about to say in a moment. And before we get to that, I will play my response to that before we even get there. So I will play the response and then we can get there. But after his points, right? He breaks down that there aren't men in media, black men in media, that are a positive image outside of Bill Cosby. Now, that did not age well. I cannot fault him for not knowing the future, so period. Because apparently, only Bill Cosby was around there and the show was just starting in the late 1980s. So I get that. He then points out 62% of homes at the time were being ran by single mothers in the black community. You don't just skip that fact. There is now a responsibility on the men to stay in the home and raise their children. And if welfare did take you out of the home and you could not stay in the home because you could not provide and the woman needed the government to live, therefore you left the home so that the government can pick up where you left off, i.e. the government took you out of the home vis-a-vis welfare, then you can still be a father to your child. Being taken out of the home does not mean you don't have any contact with your child. So that statement about why there are single mothers and the fathers are absent and not in the child's life does not make any sense. Because you're not with the child's mother does not mean you don't owe the child a responsible father. You do. All right. So, no addressing their single motherhood, because I feel like to do that, you have to actually address the absentee father, right? And also, I think he realized that he's talking to a room filled with women and there were one or two men in there. Like, let's be clear. Then he goes, 83% of teachers are women. Yeah. At the time, 83% could be women. Is there anything stopping men from being teachers? Because you didn't say 83 are black women teachers, because that wouldn't be accurate. So any race of men can be teachers if they wanted to. They obviously don't want to. They don't endeavor to do that. So pointing out that 83% are women, change it by becoming teachers. Let me drink my Cersei. Okay. When it's not the single mother's fault and it's not the school, the 83% teacher being women's fault, we're at the churches. We're at the church because the media, we don't own the media, so we don't have representation. The media is not our domain at this time. Now we own the media as far as online spaces. Look at what we have created. I hope there are now positive enough images that are predominant in terms of what we put forward. Go to Zeus, for example. Go look over at Zeus where it's black owned, black ran, black talent. And let me know if you see the positive imagery, because apparently if we owned it and we were producing our own images, the images would be better. So let's look at Zeus and see if Zeus representation of black people is better than white people representation of black people. Please put forward, let me see the dissertation. Now we're at the church. The media's fault, single mother's fault, teacher's fault, and now we're at the church. And apparently it's now white Jesus' fault. Because the image of Jesus is white, men don't want to go to the church. That don't make no sense. Because you don't create activities for men at the church. They don't go. Who are the pastors and deacons in these churches? Who? Like, it is not that these institutions in the community, the churches, right? that they are geared towards the women, they have to be geared towards the women because the women are the only ones there. The men who are in charge of these areas, who are the preachers and who put together programming at the church, they're doing so with the assistance of women. Because women are the ones going there. It's not a conspiracy. No one is saying you have to go to the NBA. Well, the street. And then the right conclusion is that the streets are raising our kids. And, well, I don't have children. The streets raising y'all's children. The streets are raising y'all's children. Oh, I did not ignore or forget that he said a woman cannot raise a boy into a man. A man has to raise a boy into a man. Where are these men? I feel like the solution is simple. The implementation might be more difficult. We need better male images, and we need men in the homes who are good, taking care of their responsibilities. That is what we need. So who do you talk to about that? Do you talk to women about being better men, or do you talk to men about being better men? Because you started off with what is the fundamental problem if this is your thesis. If women cannot raise boys into men, and you did put some caveats there, thank you for that. If women can't raise boys into men and a man has to raise a boy into a man, the conspiracy against boys and the willingness to raise boys into men, the conversation and lecture around this should be aimed, I think, very specifically at men, based on your observation. Now, he's going to tell women that they need to date down. And here's why they needed to date down. They need to date down because they need men in the home. And you should not force the man to go to work. Rather, you should allow him to be at home and you go out and go to work. That is what I heard. Now, I could be wrong. So I'm going to let it play and you will hear what I thought I heard, and then we'll come back and talk. So let's play it.
Ronald Reagan cried. John Wayne cried. They died with their boots on. They died in their saddles. They died like men. Now, any psychologist will tell you that crying may avoid suicide later. But as a result of European men not crying, European men commit suicide more than anybody else. Black men who want so much to be like European men are very close second. European women are third, and the most sane person in America, she don't make no money, but stay close to God and her children and cry. Black women commit suicide less than anybody else. Give yourself a hand clap. In other words, if you think that money is the source of all your happiness, they make more money than anybody else. But they obviously are not happy. In other words, money may not be the key. Putting God and your children first may be the key. Poorest people in America commit the less amount of suicide. First thing men are taught to do is not to cry. Second thing men are taught to do is to ignore pain. Got hypertension? Shake it off. Cancer? Shake that off too. Monday Night Football. Walter Payton goes off the field with a busted knee. Comes back on a half hour later and the Holocaust tells us, oh, what a man. The man was crazy to go back on the field. But you see, men are taught to be macho, to ignore pain. Not women. When women's finger bleeds, to the doctor's office. Women take care of themselves, but not men. You know what's gotten so bad? The studies have now documented that when men are married, they live longer. That's an insult to my intelligence. It means that I cannot live long by myself. I got to leave my mama and go to my wife. Because if I don't, I'm probably going to smoke cigarettes, drink liquor, and eat a lot of pork on the streets. But with women, annual checkup, that's what they encourage men to do. Drink a regular amount of water and eat a salad on a regular basis. What am I getting at? European women say they're so oppressed. European women live to 77 years of age. Black women live to 75 years of age. European men die at 69 years of age, and black men die at 64.8. Albert, you and I die before the first Social Security check.
All right. I'm sorry. We do have to talk about this. I was going to let him continue, but I had to cut in. Money is not the key to happiness. I agree. It is the key to survival in a capitalistic society. What do you mean? He hasn't gotten there yet, by the way. He is building up. He's praising black women for making the least and being the most sane and the happiest or whatever. And that's fine. Love that for black women. But he's building it up to say money is not important. He's gonna say he's not saying money is not important, but that's what he's saying. You need it for survival. These men can't make it. But I'm gonna tell you that you make the least currently in the 1980s, and you are still happy and not unaliving yourself. So that means money is not that important. Yeah, no. No. That's not how any of this go. Survival is necessary. So I needed to cut in to point that out, and then let's go back to it.
That law needs to be changed to lower for us. We aren't living long to collect on the payment. This is sad. I'm gonna die 10 years before my wife. This is not theoretical. It's not just my son here. It's my life here and your life. Can I not live as long as my wife? 10 years before her? Men are first of all taught not to cry. Secondly, they're taught to ignore pain. And then last but not least, they're taught to bring home the bacon. Or as I say, the vegetarian, to bring home the fruit and the vegetables. In other words, to bring home the money. Ronald Reagan knows this. Rockefeller knows this. That the best way to destroy black men is to deny them the opportunity to work. You know what I'm getting.
Men are taught to bring home the bacon. All right. Even if you believe there's something wrong with this idea, fine. Argue with each other down in the comment section. It's completely fine. I'm not about to engage in this argument. What men? Because I never heard this. I am a millennial, so I wasn't born at this time. So I don't know what this man is talking about, that men are taught to bring home the bacon. I know the concept, but that's not what I was told. Not in this community, I was not. In fact, when women are asking for men with money, they're being told that they want too much, that they're gold diggers, that they need to date the bus driver. That is what we're told. Now, this is our context here. This was in the 1980s. I do have a video from the 1960s that I reacted to, so it wasn't just happening in the 1980s. It was happening in the 1960s and before, but I will play my video after this one is done, talking about how you should settle for less and not look for the man to provide and not treat him like he's less than a man if he can't provide. I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying, why is this the message? Like, why are we trying to convince women that them being the provider and the man being at home taking care of the children is fine? It can be. I'm not saying it's not, by the way. I'm saying to say that is to accept the feminist mantle. Stop saying feminism ruined the black community when it was necessary. The feminist framework was necessary for the survival of you and your children because the women were taking care of the children and the men, apparently. It is what it is, financially. Because that's what he's saying. That's what the men in the 1960s were talking about. We're going to get to the men in the 1960s in a minute, but I'll let him finish this lecture because this don't make no sense to me. But I'm a fruitcake, so what do I know? Do not listen to me. Make your own choices.
Getting at, because Bill Moyers didn't tell you that was Vanishing Black Family documentary. 1 of every 3 marriages in this country, black or white, ends in a divorce in 18 months. Now, you see, it used to be if you got divorced, something was wrong with you. But when you have a stat this high, something must be going on in our society. I now want to explain what that is. When America believed in agriculture, America believed in extended family. When America believed in the factory, industrialism, America believed in the nuclear family. But now that America believes in the computer, now America believes in a single-parent family. Make sure you see my analysis. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. There was more than love in these relationships. There was some money involved here. Our grandparents worked the fields together, had economic reason to stay together, and so they did. In the factory, man works in the factory, woman takes care of children. Economic reason, again, to stay together. But in this new economy, where you now have women working just as much, if not more, than men, you now hear women telling men, I don't need you, got my own job. Do what I want to do, when I want to do it. And we're now doing it very well, and by ourselves. You know the #1 song in the mirror a couple years ago, ain't nothing going on but the rent. If you want to be with me, you got to have a J-O-B. It's all about money. All about money. When the economy changed, the family structure changed. And so now we have a lot of people making plenty of money and lonely. They place money before a family. You see, black men want to do what white men do. Buy their family a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, and once a year go down to Orlando for Disney World on vacation. And when black men can't do that, they don't feel they're worthy enough to stay. Now, you see, the problem is there are 2 responses black...
All right. When black men can't provide, they don't feel good enough to stay. I don't believe that. That's not the truth. I have seen a lot of people being with women who are providing for them. So that's not the truth. In the 1960s videos that we're about to watch, the women also said that men are comfortable doing that. They've been doing it. Men did that to her. So that's not the truth. The truth is not in him in this sense. he did say something that I found important. I did look this up. I think I want to make a separate video on it, but it is true that with the economy shifting, so did the families that were prioritized for sort of survival and sort of maximum output. In a farm kind of setting, then you would need more people, and an extended family is better. In a sort of industrialized setting, then we have what we have. So it is important. I think it's a good analysis. That was great. I love that. How are you responsible for your family if you can't provide for them? Like I just, and provide financially. I think there is something missing here. If you are not working, you can't be with me, I think is a very reasonable idea. Like, obviously, if you're with someone who falls ill and can't work, there's something different. But if you're watching Insecure and you are Issa Rae and look, Issa Rae was wrong all over, but she wasn't wrong for wanting out of that relationship when she did in the beginning of the season 1. How are you just laying at home not doing anything? What do you mean? You need to have a job if you want to be with me. It's literally the bare minimum. Literally the bare minimum. Why are you talking about that becoming a saying when it should be? Like, are we just advocating for women to be with people who can't even support themselves? Because if you don't have a job, you're not supporting yourself, at least not like legally, or maybe you have a business or something, but like, I'm so confused. Why are you upset that people are saying if you want to be with me, you have to have a job? What? Yeah. I wish that were the case. I wish people weren't just saying that, but living it out. What do you mean? let me let him finish for 2 more seconds, and then let me play my response, because my response to the 1960s video is the same response I have for this. So I'm just going to replay it.
Women can give to black men when they're out of work. Now, the first response some women say is, well, if you ain't working, you got to go. If you ain't working, you got to go. That's the mistake. Because black men don't hire nor fire, nor control the means of production. Now, before black men say that's right, brother, you tell them, please, brothers, quit assuming that black women took our jobs away. Because black women also do not hire nor fire. We are being played off against each other for some crumbs. We recommend the second response. For black women to say to that man, well, if you ain't working, can you at least go back to school? Can you at least learn a skill? Or at least make dinner or wash dishes while I'm gone? But the problem is there are very few black men that look to black women.
Can you at least do the dishes while I'm gone? Gone where? Gone to work? Can he do the dishes at home while she's at work? God, the phrase "when I'm gone, can you do the dishes" implies that you're working. That's how I understand the phrase. Maybe it's not a colloquialism in the way that I'm thinking it's a colloquialism. So do the dishes while I'm out with my friends, maybe? I don't know. But what's the phrase? Are you straight up saying you should be more considerate of your man who don't have a job and say, can you do the dishes while I'm gone to work? You should stop thinking about don't want to date a man without a job and start saying, okay, I'll date you even though you don't have a job, just clean up the house while I'm out working. Okay, if that's what you want, period, fine, good for you. I'm not critiquing you. You will see it in the video from the 1960s that I reacted to. And y'all are not feminist? And y'all are mad at feminism? Because I'm confused now. Y'all want the woman to provide for you. Okay, do you. To the women in the chat, again, that's fine. If you want to provide, you provide. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying it is strange to say her career doesn't matter, education doesn't matter, but also provide for me. He doesn't say it, but I feel like the manosphere was back then too, because this is sounding very manosphere. Not really, but yes. So let me continue. Let me continue, because I want this portion to end so we can listen to what I believe about this from the 1960s, because the 1980s was not the only time this was happening. It was in the 1960s and way before too.
For definition of manhood. Black men, as I said earlier, want to do what white men do, and that means be the breadwinner. What I'm getting at is we're going to have to redefine what it means to be a man. Because if being a man means being the provider, with 25% of black men out of work, that's a suicidal definition. You see, if I lose my job tomorrow, I'm still a man. As long as I'm responsible, treat my wife correctly, raise my children, that's responsibility. I'm not going to allow my employer to reduce my masculinity. I need to define what being a man is. And I think it's a perfect balance between the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. Not being a breadwinner, but a balance between the mental, physical, and the spiritual. Isn't it interesting? You have two black men. Both lose their...
A balance between the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. Open your third eye, and that will be the provider. I'm confused. So you're going to redefine manhood. Love that, actually. Love that. But you're going to remove the provider bit from manhood. You're going to take care of your family and everyone, but you don't have to be the period. Period. So that's what this all was. All the conversation was about being a man. Because, like, for me, I pride myself in being able to provide. And so the way I would define manhood would definitely require some kind of provision, right? The funny thing is, I guess that's not manhood, but whatever. I like the provision bit because it makes me a part of the definition. I understand why people would not like the provision bit because they don't want to do it or they can't do it. So that's why they're mad. Like, now y'all redefining manhood to remove the so you're not going to remove the hypermasculinity, the deep voice, all of that, none of the other sort of patriarchal norms, just the one about providing. All right, this is my response because it definitely did happen in this conversation definitely did take place in the 1960s. So let me play what I had to say because I'm not going to repeat myself because I have a video of me saying it, so I'm just going to play that. Nothing changed.
Take what belongs to him because you know women, as long as we can get, we're going to get, and it's part of our being. We're going to do anything to you that you let us, whether we want to or not. You don't want to live on the level of income that I can afford you and love. Be on the basis of that. You want to always be inspired to have all those things that's a part of the great middle class white American society. And because I can deliver these things to you, you say that you are not a man. I don't measure a man by how much money he can bring home. I measure a man by how he treats me.
That's the problem. You know what? Let me put that. Let me say this. I've heard the message, I've seen them, if you want to date people who can provide, that's fine. To all the feminists in the chat who are mad at me, I won't go there. I will know that I don't want to say it, but I'm saying it for your sake. If you want to marry down economically, do that. It's fine. I won't drag anyone on this. I'm going to leave that alone, right? So let me leave that alone. All right, let's get into the problem with this. The man is complaining that the woman is going to create a life for herself because he can provide the life for her. You're mad that she won't just submit to you and accept the fact that you are not going to provide for her the life that she wants and she's going to provide it for herself. Why are you mad at that? Isn't that a good thing? Find someone who is okay with what you can provide. Don't tell people who can provide for themselves the life that they want to step down so that you can provide for them and they should be okay with the little that you are going to provide for them. To be clear, that you can provide luxury in the way that the woman can provide for herself doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you shouldn't be loved, but it does mean that the person you're trying to humble might not be the person for you. Like, what do you mean? She is sitting here, still trying to rub your ego, telling you she doesn't care about what you provide for her. She cares about her. Girl, ain't no way. Notice how long they've been conditioning us to accept media. Yes. She was like, yeah, period. We can provide, you can provide, that's fine. I just want to love you. Meanwhile, they're still dragging her. She's like, I can be the person who goes out in the system and work. You don't have to be a provider. I can still be. They're still mad and they're going to continue to be mad because their ego is bruised. So no, they're not about to just want to be with you while you are successful. They're going to try to drag you down. Halle Bailey, Kiki Palmer, Wendy Williams. The examples are in popular media currently. It was back then, what she said, 1968, they were doing it. The woman here is saying, you don't have to come to the proverbial dusty table with anything. You can just show up and treat me well. And apparently not even treating me well is what I require. Just show up and be who you are and I will provide everything. And they're still mad. Why? Why are you still mad? She's all but laid down on the ground and said, I'm a mat. She's all but laid on the ground and said, I am a mat, walk all over me. She all but, and you're still mad because even in that state, she still can provide more than you can. That don't make no sense. She is literally up there saying, okay, you don't even have to do the bare minimum. You don't have to do it. Just show up. Just show up. Children, I'll take care of it. Food, clothing, shelter, I got you. You don't got to bring nothing. They have been running the same old tiring game for generations, constantly programming their own women to embrace struggle. Right? Like, someone said this and it hit so hard. Because, like, I was thinking, you would want your children, your mom to, because you love them, to have more. And so you would want to engage in a way that tells them they should expect and want more. And I heard someone on a podcast that said, this lady said, do you really love your mother, or was she the first person to slave for you? And I was like, whoa. Do you love your mother, or was she the first person to slave for you?
I'm just like, if you love your mum, so they say. So they say. There is that. So they say.
There is that.
Do you love your mum, or do you like that she was the first woman that was in service to you? No, so they say. So they say.
I have never heard it put like that before.
So they say. Do you actually love her, or was she the first one to just always be there for you? And I can say, factually, and out of experience, and out of researching it really well, that there is a deep, unlevel, scary enmeshment, oftentimes, that comes with black mothers and black sons for various reasons. They will be really harsh on their black daughters and throw them out early and put all these restrictions on them. You got to pay rent, you got to do this, you got to do that.
That is deep. Black men are demanding that everything be in their favor in order for them to succeed. Black women have everything against them and succeeded. Yeah, this don't make no sense. And black women are sitting there, even in 1968, saying, you don't got to bring anything out, just come. And they still don't show up. The woman right here is all but saying, I am here, I will be the provider. I will be your submissive provider. And they're like, I have a problem with you having things. To be fair, she very much said that a lot of these men are allowing the women, wrong word, to provide, and they say nothing, but they complain after she's providing. So there's no winning. I don't know who thought they were trying to win anything. There's no winning. Thank God you can provide your own life, because, whew.
Well, he's there.
That is my opinion on that. I will point out that the doctor, the good doctor in his lecture, did say money was important. At some point, he threw that in there after essentially explaining why it is not. So I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to go to the end of the video for him, not me. This is not the end, where he is explaining the different kinds of men. Because I'm telling you, the manosphere was back then too. He calls them something Eddie and something else. He's doing the educated lane versus spooky, just he gave them different names. That's exactly what he's doing. So let's go in the 1980s and listen to the manosphere talk about differentiating themselves and different kinds of men. So let's do it.
Conspiracy to destroy black boys, don't end it talking about us, end it where you started, with the brothers. So I now want to give you the Eddie Willie theory. Eddie is dedicated to my father. His name is Eddie, and I believe he's a very strong example of a black man. There are two kinds of men in America, Eddie and Willie. Willie makes babies. Eddie takes care of them. In other words, Willie believes it's not the quality, it's the quantity. Willie has made a lot of babies. Eddie believes in not only taking care of them, he hugs them. He believes that men should hug their children, works with them on their homework. Eddie takes care of them. Willie makes them. Point number one. Point number two, Willie only works, and maybe not even then, outside the house. Eddie works inside and outside. In other words, Willie may cut the grass. He may rake leaves, but he definitely is not working inside the house because men work outside and women work inside. But not Eddie. Eddie believes in whatever it takes. Washing dishes, making dinner, whatever it takes. And then last but not least, Willie is very insecure. And so Willie verbally and physically abuses his woman, but not Eddie. Eddie's very secure. In other words, Eddie encourages a woman to go back to school. to get a promotion on her job. Eddie encourages his woman to go to church. You know what I even heard? Eddie goes to church with her. And the reason is Eddie is his wife's best friend. And because of that, he understands that putting his woman down is not the key. The key is feeling good about yourself. When you feel good about yourself, there's no need to put anybody down. I want all the Donnas and all the Eddies to stand up and give yourselves a very strong round of applause. Thank you very, very much.
I'm going off on this tangent. I am. I'm going on the abuse tangent. So you can leave now because the video is done. It was them to... I will say do not lower your standard for anyone. Your standards. Don't lower your standards for anyone. Make sure they have people you're dating have jobs. Like if you're a grown person, the person you're dating should have a job. This is not to say if someone falls on hard times while you're with them that you should up and leave them. It is that in the initial stage, if you're first of all, you should be dating if you're... Girl, not me giving dating advice. Please ignore everything that I just said, and let's get to the abuse part. Because this man annoyed me so much, so very much, with his take on the women's responsibility in their own abuse. Oh, let's play. Let me play this foolishness. We're gonna end on this note, this very sad, degenerate note.
I mentioned at the very outset that one of every two husbands physically abuses his wife. Now, many thought the problem was only with the men who did the beating. There's more to it than that. You see, any respectable woman will make it very clear to her man, you put a hand on me, and either I'm leaving or you better not go to sleep. There are two kind of women in America, and they go by the names of Donna and Kathy. You see, I sincerely believe this. I believe that men know who to beat and who not to. I believe that. And I believe that men are not going to respect women until women, first of all, respect themselves. And there are two kind of women in America, Donna and Kathy. Now, Donna feels very good about herself. She would like to have a man, but she don't have to have one. I mean, the sun will still shine. God will still be first in her life. Donna wants one, she ain't got to have one. But then you get Kathy, taking me your way, comes through the door with another woman, with a bottle, with a ball up fist. All Kathy wants is a man, and a half a man will do. I want all the Kathys to raise their hands. You know, I've yet across the country see a sister admit to me that she's a Kathy. You know what they tell me? They say, Juwanza, well, I'm a Donna during the weekday, but I'm a Kathy on the weekend. Well, I'm down at summertime, and the Kathy, the other hand. It's hard being down in America when you have two women for every one man. It's easy to lower your standards. If you want to be a Kathy in America, the theory goes like this. For every sister we can get to quit acting like Kathy and to begin to act like Donna, what this means is less Kathys and more Donnas. As a result of having fewer Kathys and more Donnas, we would have fewer brothers taking advantage of women like Kathy and have to respect more women like Donna. I am tired of women always blaming the brothers. The last time I looked, you still determined who gets your phone number, who takes you out, and every step along the way. It's hard being a Donna in America. If you want to be a Donna, there may be some lonely Friday and Saturday nights. But if you believe in you, you'll have peace of mind. If you want to be a Donna in America, it means you go back to school, get off of welfare, learn you a skill for a career to take care of yourself. If you want to be a Donna in America, it means you will quit watching them soap operas all day long, especially all of my children, and begin to take care of your own. If you want to be a Donna in America, it means you will quit eating those cookies and chocolates all evening long. You know, the rumor is the older women get, the bigger you get. Watch what you eat and exercise. And then last but not least, if you want to be a Donna in America, you need to put God first in your life. You didn't know? It takes longer for boys to grow up, and some boys never grow up. But rather than marrying a boy as a Catholic making a mistake, we encourage you to wait. But while you're waiting, don't complain. Keep developing yourself. So when the brothers finally get ready, you'll be ready too. A good marriage still takes two and not one. Now, as you well know, Glenn, we used to end with the Donna Catholic theory. But the women got...
So that wasn't the manosphere in the 1980s? You're telling me that wasn't manosphere rhetoric in the 1980s? Choose better, essentially. And I'm not really saying there's a problem with the idea that you should try to vet and figure all of that out. I'm not saying this. This is not advice. This is a fruitcake. So don't listen. Here's the problem that I have with this. The fundamental problem here is that this is all about manosphere foolishness. The concept under which all of this is being discussed is abuse. Do not let it miss you that he starts off by saying, when it comes to abuse, we always just want to blame the man who is the abuser. What do you mean? Yes. If we've confirmed that he's the abuser, yeah, that's who we should blame. But then he goes on to explain that respectable women will tell men not to put their hands on them. Wait, so you're blaming the women for not being respectable? You're blaming the women for not making it known that the man shouldn't put his hands on her. This is physical abuse. That's what he said. I'm not taking anything out of context. This is what he said, that it's not just the man's fault when there's a physical abuse here. He even said verbatim that he's sick and tired of y'all blaming men for their physical abuse. This was all under the umbrella of abuse. What do you mean? The idea that you should put God first doesn't make sense to me unless you're going to own up to Sinji's term, a la carte Christianity. Unless that's what you're doing. Because she can put God first if that God is the God of the Bible, and thus Christian, if the man is not a provider. You said lower your standards and choose someone who is not economically able to provide because he can stay at home and you can go to work. When you said don't lower your standard when you created these two distinct set of women, that those who should be respected and those who shouldn't be respected, your words, not mine. Aren't you telling these women to lower their standards? You said to be in the good group of women, women shouldn't lower their standards. But when it comes to finances and men having a job, they should lower their standards. Maybe my male brain isn't able to understand what is happening, and maybe the women in the chat figured it out already about how you can both lower and not lower your standard. Maybe it's a riddle that I haven't figured out. It doesn't sound like the manosphere when they're like, lose weight, don't eat so much. That's what I heard. Choose better, don't eat too much. This, by the way, is about Black boys being protected. This is countering the conspiracy to destroy Black boys. But you're going to slip in Black women's weight in there. You're going to say choose better. You're going to bring up the fact that Black women are being abused, and you're going to say it's their fault. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys later. This is going to be the last video on this. I said that in the beginning, and I'm supposed to create a third video for while I'm out, because I'm out. That's why this video is here. Exhausted. The videos that I've already pre-recorded, tiring. So I can't. So I created 2 videos, and this is definitely over an hour long. So while I wanted to create the last video, I want to apologize. You guys are going to be without me on the last Friday. The Friday of the 16th, I don't know what date it actually is. So I'm sorry, I apologize. Bye. I'm tired. I'm actually exhausted. I recorded and re-recorded, hated all the videos, so I can only do 2. I feel bad. I don't like broken promises. I'm done. Bye.